I want you to picture this. It's a Monday morning, February 2026.
Mm-hmm.
You walk into your office or, you log into Slack at the Feed BU. You've worked there for years.
Mm-hmm.
But today just feels different. There's a heaviness in the air. And that's because the press release just dropped. You've been acquired.
The big one.
A massive deal closed over the weekend. And now you are owned by this global giant called Heus.
That's either the champagne moment or the panic moment, depending on where you sit on the org chart.
Exactly. The lawyers have shaken hands. The press is running the story. But here's the problem, and this is what we're really digging into today. The old CEO, he's already cleared out his desk.
Gone.
But the new bosses from Heus, they haven't really moved in yet. I mean, they don't know where the coffee machine is, let alone how the billing system works.
You're right.
And you've got a vendor on the phone screaming for a payment that's due by noon. Who signs the check?
And that right there, that is what we call the danger zone. It sounds a bit dramatic, but that specific window of time is where so much of the value of a merger just gets, it gets destroyed.
And that's exactly what we're unpacking. We've got our hands on this fascinating internal strategy document. It's from the business management team.
And the title is a bit of a mouthful.
It is. It's called Initial Operational Stabilization and Execution Acceleration During PMI.
Rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it?
Yeah. But if you strip away all that corporate speak, this is a survival manual. It's a guide for navigating that orphan period after the deal is signed, but before the integration is actually done.
And the argument they make is really surprising.
It is. They aren't worried about competitors stealing their lunch.
Yeah.
They aren't worried about, the global economy.
No, they're worried about structural gaps.
Which is just a very polite way of saying the plumbing is broken.
Pretty much. I mean, think about it. You've disconnected the old pipes. The reporting lines to the old headquarters are just gone. But you haven't connected the new pipes to Heus yet.
So the business is just floating
Yeah.
structurally.
Yeah, and the term the document uses for this is functional disconnection.
That sounds terrifying if you're a manager.
It is. It means your support bridge is gone. You used to know exactly who to call if the IT server went down or if you needed to hire a specialized engineer. Now, that person might have been let go, or they work for a department that doesn't support you anymore. You are, functionally cut off from the brain of the company.
Okay, so let's dig into the nightmares. The document lists some very specific risks that just pop up in this void. And the first one is the who decides problem.
This is the classic bottleneck, and it all comes down to something called the delegation of authority, the DUA.
Okay, let's pause there for a second. For anyone listening who isn't deep in corporate governance, what is the DUA, and why is that the very first thing to break?
Sure. So a DUA is basically the rule book for spending money and taking risks. It says a manager can sign a purchase order for, say, $5,000. A director can sign for $50,000.
It's the permission structure.
Exactly. But when the Feed BU gets sold, the old board of directors is technically gone. So the old rule book is legally void.
And the new rule book from Heus hasn't shown up yet because they have no idea who needs what limit.
Precisely. So you enter the state of paralysis. A factory manager needs to replace a critical part that costs, $15,000. Yesterday, he could sign for it.
No problem.
Today, he's terrified. If he signs it, is he breaking a rule he hasn't even seen yet? Is he going to get fired by the new owners for being reckless?
So he does nothing.
He does nothing, and the machine stays broken.
And production stops. That's operational paralysis.
Yep.
You'd think that fear would spread pretty fast. The document talks about key talent attrition as a major risk. But is it just because people are scared of getting fired? Or is there something else going on?
Oh, it's deeper than that. It's about accountability avoidance. High performers, they hate ambiguity.
They need to know the rules of the game.
Exactly. If they see decisions aren't being made, or if they feel like they're being asked to take responsibility without having the authority to back it up, they just check out.
Right.
They start returning those calls from headhunters. They don't leave because they hate Heus. They leave because they hate feeling helpless.
That makes sense. And then you've got the external risks, value chain risks.
Yeah.
This part felt very real. This isn't just about internal emails. This is trucks and warehouses.
This is where it really hits the bottom line. So imagine a quality system mismatch. Let's say the Feed BU had a specific tolerance for moisture in their grain supplies. Heus has a different, maybe a stricter standard.
But nobody's told the guy on the receiving dock at the factory.
Precisely. So a supplier delivers a load of grain. The receiving manager accepts it based on the old rules.
Right.
A week later, Heus auditors show up and say, "Why did you buy this? It's out of spec." Now you have a conflict. Or worse, the manager gets nervous and turns the truck away because he's unsure, and now you have a supply shortage.
And while all of this is going on, money's leaking out the back door. The financial leaks section was pretty blunt about uncontrolled or unjustified expenses.
It's the parents are away syndrome. When supervision gets murky, discipline just slips. Maybe a department head rushes through a bunch of payments to their favorite vendors before the new system kicks in.
Or it's just sloppy cash management because the treasury team is in flux. So let me just paint the picture here. We've got managers paralyzed by fear. Our best people are updating their resumes. Trucks are getting turned away at the gate, and cash is leaking out of the accounts.
That is the danger zone.
Okay, so clearly doing nothing is not an option. You can't just wait for the new bosses to sort it all out. What's the solution here?
The document proposes a very specific, very aggressive response. And they don't want to rely on outside consultants either. They propose an internal PMI execution task force,
which they tentatively named the ISA TF.
Right. Initial stabilization and acceleration. A bit corporate, but it's accurate.
What really jumped out at me was who was actually on this team. Usually you'd expect a transition team to kind of parachute in from the new headquarters, right?
Yeah.
But this document says the task force is led by the feed BU itself.
And that is the critical strategic move. It's cross-functional. You've got leaders from finance, HR, sales, production, but they're from the acquired company.
But hang on, isn't that asking a lot? The document says these people are used regardless of current assignment. So if I'm the VP of sales, I still have my sales numbers to hit. But now I've also got this second full-time job on the task force.
Yes, and it is brutal, but it's necessary. Because who knows the customers better than the VP of sales? Who knows where the financial bodies are buried better than the current CFO?
Good point.
If you brought in Heus people to run this, they'd spend the first 90 days just learning everyone's name. This team is built for speed.
The document really emphasizes that this team is execution and problem-solving oriented, not reporting oriented. I think I circled that 3 times.
I noticed that too. And it's a direct shot at how bad integrations usually go. Normally, these integration teams become report factories.
Right, they just make PowerPoints.
All week long. Building decks for a steering committee to explain why things are going so wrong. This ISA TF is different. Their job isn't to report on the fire. Their job is to hold the hose.
So let's talk about how they actually hold the hose. The document lays out 3 core initial objectives. The first one, ensure operational continuity. Keep the lights on. Seems pretty standard.
Standard, but vital. It means keeping the servers humming and the factory line moving. But the second objective, that's the real game changer. Maintain speed.
Which brings us right back to that delegation of authority nightmare we were talking about. How do they fix it?
They create an interim DOA.
A temporary rule book.
Exactly. The task force, presumably with the blessing of Heus' leadership, issues a decree. For the next 100 days, here are the signing limits. Here is who approves what. It's a bridge.
It creates a legal framework.
Yes, so that the factory manager can finally sign for that $15,000 part without being afraid of getting fired.
It creates a safe harbor for making decisions.
That's a great way to put it. Without that safe harbor, everyone freezes. With it, the business keeps moving.
Okay, now let's get into the day-to-day. The execution hub. How does this team actually function? It mentions a red flag response.
This is basically their 911 service. Let's say a major customer calls up and says, "Hey, I'm hearing rumors you guys are getting shut down. I'm canceling my contract." That's a red flag.
A big one.
You cannot let that ticket sit in some customer service queue. The task force has the authority to just grab that issue, bypass the normal chain of command.
And go right to the top.
They could even get the Heus CEO on the phone if they had to. And they resolve it immediately. They just cut through all the red tape.
They also seem to act as a shield, don't they? The document talks about the Heus leadership interface.
This is one of my favorite parts of this whole strategy. It's the umbrella function. Imagine you're that factory manager again. Suddenly, you have 20 different directors from Heus emailing you.
Oh, no.
HR wants a headcount report. Finance wants a margin analysis. Safety wants an audit. You would drown in requests.
You'd spend your entire day just answering emails instead of actually making feed.
Exactly. So the ISATF, it acts as the primary intake. They tell Heus, send all your requests to us. They filter them, they prioritize them, and then they ask the factory manager for the data in a structured way.
They protect the team.
They protect the operational team from the request tsunami.
That seems incredibly important for morale. If you protect people's time, they feel valued. But there's another risk the task force has to manage, and this one is a bit more technical, but potentially deadly. Data consistency.
Oh, this is the silent killer in any merger.
Why a killer? It just sounds like spreadsheets.
Because it's about trust. Let's say the feed BU has always calculated gross margin by including the cost of shipping. But to Heus, they calculate gross margin without shipping.
Okay, so the numbers are different.
They're drastically different. So now imagine the task force sends a monthly report to the new owner saying, hey, great news, our margin is 12%. The Heus finance team looks at the raw data, applies their own formula, and they see 8%.
And they think you're lying to them.
Or that you're incompetent. And immediately, trust is broken. The new owners start thinking, we can't trust these guys. We need to send in our own people to watch them.
And once you lose that autonomy, you never get it back.
Never. So the task force has to be the translator. They have to establish that single source of truth right away.
They have to align the dictionary before they start writing the story.
Well put. They have to say, when we say profit, this is exactly what we mean.
Let's talk about the money again. Cash AR credit. Why is the task force policing the sales team?
Because the sales team gets nervous too. If I'm a sales rep, I want to prove to my new bosses that I'm valuable. I want to close deals. I want to look good.
So you might offer a discount you really shouldn't.
You might offer excessive discounting, or you might sell to a customer with bad credit just to get the revenue on the books. You're trading long-term health for a short-term win.
And the task force has to be the bad guy.
They have to be the bad guys who say, no, we are not selling at that price just to look good for a week. They have to monitor that credit exposure.
And then finally, there's the people side, HR. The document mentions psychological uncertainty. We touched on this, but how does the task force actually fix that feeling? It's not like they can promise everyone a job forever.
No, and false promises are actually worse than silence, but what they can provide is change communication, consistent factual updates, town halls.
Even if the news is bad.
Even if the news is, we don't know yet. Saying that is better than saying nothing. If you leave a void, the rumor mill fills it. And the rumor mill is always worse than the reality.
So we have the team, we have the objectives, and the defensive moves. But this isn't a permanent state. The document lays out a first 100-day execution roadmap.
The famous 100 days, the standard honeymoon period in business.
And they break it into 3 phases. Phase 1 is days 0 to 30, stabilization.
This is just triage. Stop the bleeding, establish that interim due, secure your key contracts, make sure raw materials are physically arriving at the factory. You aren't trying to improve the company yet.
You're just trying to keep the patient alive.
Exactly.
Then phase 2, days 30 to 60, is control and alignment.
Okay, now the patient is stable. You can start planning. You're defining those KPIs we talked about. You're aligning with IFRS, the international accounting standards. You're setting up profitability warning signals. You're moving from being reactive to being proactive.
And then phase 3, days 60 to 100, transition preparation.
This is the handoff. You're preparing to dissolve the task force. You're permanently wiring the reporting lines into Heus. You are handing over the keys to a car that is clean, gassed up, and running perfectly.
But this is where I think the document gets really clever. It's not just about survival. Section 6 mentions quick wins and synergy.
This is the acceleration part of the name. If you just survived the 100 days without crashing the car, that's a C+. You did your job. But this document is aiming for an A.
So how do you get an A in an acquisition?
You find those immediately executable initiatives. Maybe you find a way to combine your logistics with Heus and save 5% on trucking. Maybe you cross-sell a Heus product to one of your legacy customers.
You show them money they weren't expecting to see so soon.
Exactly. You are auditioning.
Auditioning.
Yes. Look at the expected outcomes section. It explicitly says the goal is to shift perception. They don't want the feed BU to be seen merely as an operational entity.
Just a dumb asset that churns out product.
Right. They want to be seen as a strategic execution partner.
That is a huge distinction. It's saying, don't just view us as a factory you bought. View us as a team of leaders who know how to get things done.
Correct. By demonstrating this integration capability, by showing they can manage their own chaos and even find new value, they build trust. And in a merger, trust is currency.
If they trust you, they leave you alone to do your job.
They give you autonomy, they give you investment capital, they promote your leaders into the global structure. If they don't trust you, they send in the cleaner team from HQ to micromanage every single penny you spend.
So this ISA TF is basically a mechanism for career survival and for autonomy.
It's the difference between being a driver in the new company and just being a passenger, and passengers often get let off at the next stop.
That is a sobering thought. But it makes perfect sense. The best defense is a good offense.
Exactly. Don't wait for them to integrate you. Integrate yourself, but on your own terms.
So to bring this all back to the big picture, we started with that terrifying Monday morning. No rules, no boss, total uncertainty. The natural human reaction is just to freeze, right? To hide under the desk and wait for orders.
Which is the absolute worst thing you can do.
Right. The lesson from this document is that you have to build your own temporary structure. You build the ISA Taskforce. It acts as the bridge, the shield, and the fixer.
It's the plumber, the diplomat, and the general all rolled into one.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it really highlights that mergers don't usually fail because the high-level strategy was wrong. I mean, the spreadsheets always look great in the boardroom.
Always.
They fail because the plumbing breaks in those first 3 months, and nobody knows how to fix it.
And by the time they figure it out, all the good people have left, and the customers have already moved on.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a challenge. You might not be going through a billion-dollar merger right now, but look at your own organization. If your leadership structure just disappeared tomorrow, if the boss and the boss's boss just vanished, what would happen?
That's a scary question.
Do you have a delegation of authority that people actually understand? Do you have a team that would step up and form a kind of task force to keep operations moving? Or would everything just grind to a halt because everyone is waiting for permission to do their jobs?
Resilience isn't about the structure you have on a sunny day. It's about the structure you can build when the storm hits.
Well said. That's all for this deep dive into the chaotic mechanics of M&A integration. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.